live.
I'm both nervous and excited, but
Oh man, it should be a fun time here. Gonna make sure that we are up. There's always like a slight delay. Home. Make sure it's good, and then we will go. Also, I'm gonna post on Instagram. Yeah, okay, cool. It is. It is live. So we are here, hanging out. Another live podcast. I am here with Marissa. What is your last name Longo, or is that just a
yeah,
name?
so it's actually like the pen name I use for like my artwork and stuff.
Oh, okay.
So Marissa, Longo, Marissa, however you want to pronounce it.
Gotcha. Okay, cool.
My real name is Lisa if you want to use that too.
Lisa. Okay, yeah. Well, I noticed your YouTube channel it says Marissa, but then it says Lisa
Yeah,
learns
'cause I have like
languages.
a Tumblr page, Lisa Learns Languages.
Yeah, that's cool. All right, cool. Well, thank you for joining. I'm anxious to get to chatting. We've interacted on Twitter several times, and I know that you comment on my videos and stuff. So we have past just interactions and stuff like that. So I'm anxious to get talking.
Yeah.
I'm just going to start with while I post this on Instagram also, what languages what do you consider your strong languages?
Um, Strong, probably just Spanish right now.
Okay.
That's what I focus the most on. Um, I'm also trying to learn some Italian, some Japanese, and then some Mandarin Chinese.
Okay.
And I actually took Mandarin back in college for a couple semesters, so I should probably know more than I do, but
It's all good. It comes and goes. I've studied
yeah.
Spanish off and on so much, and at one point I passed a B1 test, and now I don't know how much I could speak. So it definitely comes and goes. Well, that's cool. And I know that you are, just based on just speaking through Twitter a little bit, you're a big fan of reading. In terms of I guess, do you do that to learn, or is it more so for kind of like, what is the word? My God, my English is really suffering right now.
For fun, pleasure, like
Yeah, like, do you just use it to kind of maintain? Well, there we go, maintain.
I'll maintain. I'm using it to try and learn more Spanish. So when I read in Spanish, I'm trying to like pick up vocabulary, pick up sentences.
Mm-hmm.
Like last year I started trying to do like massive input with reading and also watching television or listening passively in Spanish
Mm-hmm.
as a way to try to build up my passive knowledge and I don't want to say it. Just learn more vocabulary overall and
Yeah.
learn to recognize sentence structures and grammar points
Mm-hmm.
because one thing to read about grammar, but you have to like constantly see it before it really sticks, I
Yeah.
think.
Absolutely.
So my current method of reading, I use my e-reader a lot. So I basically am just reading and highlighting words or sentences that either stick out to me or that I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And then I make flashcards afterwards.
Okay. Do you use electronic flashcards, or do you use like actual paper flashcards?
I've been using like Anki.
Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
so like electronic ones.
Gotcha. I was not necessarily against Anki for a long time, but like especially this last 10 days since I've started doing the like redoing Japanese with like Matt's MIA approach thing, like I've really actually come to love it, and it's because of the audio that I can apply to the cards and stuff like that. I think it's a good program.
Yeah, I haven't like looked into setting that part up. I know you can do a lot more with it than what I do.
Mm.
I'm kind of just too lazy.
It can be very, very overwhelming. The only reason I even have it set up is I was on Skype with Matt, and he literally, like, so I was supposed to be on for an hour, and he stayed almost 3 hours on, and he sat my entire Anki up. He went through all the settings, because like if I had to research that, I would have not done it. Like there's no question about it. I would have been like, nah.
It's like a lot. I saw someone on Instagram had like they were using Anki and they like customized their whole deck to have like a pretty background picture, and I'm like with audio files and everything, and I'm like too much work for me, but it looks beautiful.
Yeah, yeah, it's a lot. That's why well, I was trying to get audio. I started the way that I was getting audio originally until I found this video that my friend Luke Truman shared with me. Um I would set my OBS up, like my open broadcast source or software, and I would wait until the audio was playing, like if I was doing a sentence card, and I would start the recording and then have to import that into Adobe, rip just the audio, and then add it to the card. And then Luke sent me a video of it's a program called ShareX, I think. And like as long as it's running in the background, if you hit F3 when it starts and then F3 when it ends, you just go into Anki and paste it, and it just from like because it saves it to your clipboard, and it like saved me so much time.
It's like that sounds much easier.
Yeah, it was a little bit. I had to watch a video on to set it up. There's like a bunch of settings, but it wasn't too bad. So when you're, I know that a lot of people do read with e-readers and stuff. That's a good thing because like I always talk about my enjoyment of Link and stuff and importing into that. But I think that e-readers are cool because yeah, I like you said, I know that you can just highlight. Now, does it let you highlight like entire sentences to export as flashcards, or do you just do like single vocabulary words?
Um, I just I like highlight either single words or sentences, and then either at the end of the chapter or at the end of the book, depending on like my mood or my understanding of what I'm reading,
Mm-hmm.
I make the cards myself. So I'm retyping the words
Okay.
in the sentences, and I know it's probably more work, but like I kind of prefer that because it makes me like look at the word again, and
Yeah.
like writing helps too, you know.
Yeah.
Or
Not. Yeah, I can agree with that because you're getting additional exposure to that language, like because you're having to type it and stuff like that. So I can definitely understand that because I think, especially depending on early on, like it can be a little difficult to make words stick. Um,
yeah.
that's why, like right now in Japanese, what I'm doing is I'm simply listening and like if a word pops out to me, I will look it up because I've heard it enough for it to specifically stick out. And that actually seems to work. I did that yesterday with a couple of words, and I actually did it today with a couple of things. And like, it's actually from where I've heard them so many times that they have popped out. That's actually I haven't had to make a flashcard, and I've remembered them, which is I don't remember what the word was today. So I guess you could say that that's not totally true. But like if I heard it again, I would know it. Like I can recognize it.
Yeah, and I think I've had like the same or similar experience with Spanish and reading. Like if I see a word comes up multiple times, I also like I downloaded Spanish dictionary so I can like it populates the definition in Spanish, which can
Hmm.
be helpful sometimes. So I've like seen a word come up like multiple times throughout a chapter or the book, and I'm like, um, I start to remember it basically because
Yeah.
I've seen it so many times.
Yeah. What's
Repetition
repetition?
is
Yeah.
probably like a key to making things stick.
Yeah, for sure. The I just looked it up on my Anki deck. It was shinjiru, which is like to believe or like or whatever. That was the. I was watching a Erased on Netflix, and this kid kept saying shinjiru, and I was like, what in the crap? And then I looked it up, and I was like, all right, cool, that makes sense because I've seen the show, and I know that there's a lot of segments where the characters are like, you're kind of crazy, but we totally believe you. So it made sense. Big Perm 586 says, Hola, welcome to the stream. Bienvenidos. So what's like when you've like what I try to ask everybody this: what made you interested in languages and just in general? What made you want to study languages?
Let's see. I guess we can go back to like I guess when I got like really into it was probably like when I was in high school.
Hmm.
I mean, with Spanish, so everyone at my high school had to take 2 years of a language. So, I mean, the class itself wasn't like fantastic because everyone's just there because they have to be.
Right.
Um, but I started like, I don't know, I just started listening to like music in Spanish, and I
Hmm.
started trying to watch like I would put Telemundo on at home and try to watch telenovelas.
Yeah.
I mean, I love drama, like dramatic TV shows like that. So over the top, just
Right.
I don't know how to explain it. Telenovela style. I also used to watch like a lot of Japanese dramas
Hmm.
and some anime too. So I got really big into Japanese dramas, some anime, and then Japanese music, and I was really big into Japanese rock music.
Yeah.
So that made me want to learn Japanese. So
Yeah.
I did try teaching myself Japanese back in high school and totally failed at that. So that was fun. That was a
It's
learning experience.
it's tough. Yeah, I'm fully like I fully believe you have to approach Japanese, honestly, probably Korean and Chinese, like any of the languages that are vastly different from English. I feel like you have to approach differently.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure that out because with Mandarin, like I took 2 semesters in college, but like I feel like I understand a lot of the basics still, but like I'm having a hard time continuing on with my by myself with my own studies.
Right.
So I need to like figure out what I'm doing with that because
Yeah,
I mean
it's
part of it's probably me being lazy a little bit, but I'm a little lost. So
I understand. What do you is Mandarin, or what is your current active language that you're, or are you, do you have an active language right now that you're studying?
it's mostly just well, I don't know if you call Spanish active. It's just a lot of input, really.
Hmm.
I guess Spanish is active because I'm also journaling and I'm like trying to speak it more, but I need to find someone to speak it with. I'm just talking to
Sure.
myself now.
Right.
But I would say Spanish and then Japanese because I've been focused on when I try to teach myself, I brought all the Japanese for busy people textbooks.
Hmm.
So I'm trying to go through those to hopefully give myself like a starting point.
Yeah.
Because that's like something structured that and a goal I can work towards. So I'm trying to work through those. So I would say probably Spanish and Japanese
Spanish
right
and
now.
Japanese. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it's those honestly, and you should be able to do both of those because your Spanish is to a level where you're. I assume your Spanish is to a level where it's not that you're like you know enough and you're just kind of adding to it, right?
I think so. It's kind of hard to grade myself because I'm like, well, A, I'm hard on myself, and then B, I'm like, I don't know how much I really know. Like,
Right.
but I'm not sure how to grade myself either because I'm not speaking it enough that I kind of want to speak it more. So I
Hmm.
don't know how I would do just thrown into a conversation.
Yeah.
But I feel like I have a lot more passive knowledge, especially because I was like so focused on massive input last year with
Hmm.
the reading and watching TV and whatnot and YouTube. Um,
You probably know more. You probably know more than you think. There's probably words that would pop out like, and that's happening with me with because my Japanese level isn't great, but like there's words that are popping out where I'm like I know that. Like it takes me a second. So I'm sure you probably have a pretty high passive vocabulary.
Maybe I don't know. I mean, I have found that I started journaling in Spanish this year,
Hmm.
and I found it's actually not as difficult as I thought it would be. So maybe you're right. Maybe I have more knowledge than I think I do, more passive knowledge at
Yeah.
least.
It's it's hard to grade. It is hard to grade yourself because we are our own worst enemies when it comes to that. Like we're always gonna think that we're a much lower tier than what we are. You know what I mean? Like it is hard to kind of get past that. Is there anything specifically that you struggle with? Because like there's issues that I have with Spanish still to this day, and I'm not good at Spanish at all. But like there are things that I struggle with. Are there any like struggle issues with Spanish, like maybe verb tenses or something like that you would consider to be like just like a major, not a major struggle point, but like what would you struggle with the most?
Yeah, I would say probably using like some of the tenses, like some of the past tenses, or
Mm,
I forgot what they're called now, but what ones exactly. But I would say some of the tenses, like I can recognize them probably if I'm reading it or watching TV with Spanish subtitles,
mm,
but I don't know how to use like because I have certain tenses that I use in certain situations,
right.
or like I don't want to explain it.
I
I
always,
remember grammar now.
yeah. I always struggle with the big thing that I struggle with is like conditional and stuff like that. So like if you wish something, like you don't use like I wish this would happen. You don't use the same tense, even though because it's conditional. Like that confuses the crap out of me.
Yeah, that's one of them. I don't know. I just the tenses are basically the biggest thing I think because they have certain ones like you said like conditional like
Yeah.
I can recognize it, but I don't know
Right.
when to use that myself, and it's not what I immediately jump to when I try to write or try to speak.
Yeah. Well,
So,
I know that I told the story on another. I think I told the story on another podcast, but when I went to a Mexican restaurant and I was speaking to one of the waiters there, and I told him I was like, I'm really struggling with conditional, and he was just like, "It's all right, man. We do too. Sometimes we don't know when to use it." And I was like, "Fair enough. Okay."
as long as you get your point across, I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. The Benny Lewis Tarzan speak theory. That's what I always go to. If you say, if you literally say, even if somebody in English said yesterday I to eat, you would know. You know what I mean? Like you, it's a
Hmm.
little wonky, but like you can get the meaning behind it.
Yeah, and I mean, you have to start somewhere, and like the more you speak, the more you listen, the more you like communicate. I'm sure you start picking up all the little differences, and you start recognizing, oh, I should be using this tense
Yeah.
instead. I'm
Yeah.
sure once you get massive exposure and all that,
Yeah.
starts making more sense.
Yeah. Well, I've noticed too. With speaking of exposure, like, um, I mean, I still watch a show or two on Netflix or whatever a day, but like, I started watching YouTube videos of like people playing video games and like vlogging and stuff in Japan because there's no script, there's no because you write differently than you would speak. So it's just the people actually speaking, and I find that has helped tremendously, getting kind of a natural pattern to the way that they speak.
Yeah, I started watching a lot of vloggers in Spanish now. Even like I subscribed to a bunch of book vloggers, just everyday lifestyle
Hmm.
vloggers. I was cleaning earlier, so I put on like a Limpia Mi Casa
Hmm.
or Limpia La Casa video, and I'm like listening to this woman describe her cleaning routine, and I'm like, all right, that works.
Yeah.
But there's like a couple vloggers I follow. There's one who like she's from Mexico, but she lives in Turkey now, and she vlogs like her daily life.
Hmm.
I've been watching her channel and her videos with Spanish subtitles, so I'm picking up like differences compared to like writing and speaking, and I'm also picking up new vocab and like
Right.
just everything basically.
Yeah.
So,
I think that it's a huge like I said I still watch the scripted shows, but there is something that you can pick up like that has a little extra feel to it if it's just a person just speaking that's not a written script, because like I said we
mhm.
definitely write different.
Have you watched on Netflix? They have the for Japanese the was it the house show where they all live together.
I watched the first, well, they have multiple ones. Whatever season I watched, or I take that back, not season I watched one episode of it and I really enjoyed it, but that was before I got, so like I've tried to do the mass immersion thing a bunch of times and usually that lasts about a day, and it was so uncomfortable to me to sit and force myself to watch when I didn't understand anything that I stopped. I've powered through it this time and I've found an enjoyment in it. Took a couple of days, but now I'm there, so I'll probably rewatch it. But I did watch Terrace House, and the only thing I will say about that, the one time that I did it, this was in September or October of last year, and I was watching it, and one of the girls asked somebody how old they were, and I think the guy said, "How old do you think I am?" And they said 30, and he was like, "What?" And like I understood that because I know like ages and stuff like that in Japanese, and like but just seeing like kind of a genuine, like it made me laugh out loud, like because I understood it which was really crazy. But then like just the context of it and seeing the reactions was just hilarious to me. But yeah, I've seen a little. It looks like it'd be interesting. I might try to watch it again,
Yeah,
like now.
I heard that's good if you're learning Japanese because you have the show where it shows the people living together and they're interacting with each other. But then you also have the people that are watching those people and then they discuss certain situations. So it's
Mhm.
apparently supposed to be good for like picking up on little aspects of Japanese culture and
Mhm.
sometimes language too, the way because Japanese is very like subtle with things.
Mhm.
So I heard it's good
Yeah.
for learning Japanese.
Yeah. I might give it a shot because like I mean, at this point, I mean I do have a bunch of stuff that I'm like going through, but I'm almost done with Erased again. I've been watching Death Note just because I like the concept of it. And then I've been watching Slam Dunk, which is I love basketball and stuff, and like Slam Dunk is supposed to be really good and like kind of like a beginner level type of stuff. Plus, like when this girl is explaining to this guy how to play basketball, like all the vocabulary is westernized, like layup is layup and like dribble, like it's all westernized.
They can
So
kind of guess,
yeah, so
figure it out.
and
I
then
will say though, like with immersing yourself, like either trying to read or trying to get a lot of audio input. Like when I started reading in Spanish, it was so difficult. I'm like, I
mhm,
don't understand anything.
right,
I'm like, this is horrible. But if you keep pushing through it, eventually, like, you're gonna have a moment where it's like, oh my God, I'm understanding
hmm,
at least the gist of it or what's happening, or like, oh my God, I understood the whole chapter or something like that.
yeah,
Especially if you read like, because I read a lot of romance books in Spanish last year. So
hmm,
that's a genre I like reading just for fun.
sure,
And they're also very short and pretty predictable.
hmm,
So because I was reading so much of like the same genre, I think that helped too. Because I
yeah,
had a moment suddenly where I'm like understanding things.
right.
It's fun.
Yeah, that's I think with reading I think it's a good I think reading is that's one thing I need to do with my Japanese, but I think that where people struggle and mess up, myself included, is when I'm reading stuff, especially when I'm using link, I need to stop doing this. I look up every single word.
Mhm.
And I understand the psychology as to why I do it because I don't understand that, but sometimes you just need to power through because you also need to train yourself just how to read quicker in general. And if you're always doing that start stop, like it's going to take a lot longer to get to a point where you can read, regardless. Like it's so that's always
Yeah.
my issue.
At some point, you just have to be like, whatever, I'm moving on to the next chapter or
Yeah,
next book, whatever. Like,
yep. Because I want to get to where I can read, at a comfortable level. But if I never try to see how fast I can read, not like a competition, but like just to see
yeah.
how quickly I can get through something because I'm always looking words up. I don't know if that's beneficial. So I need to reapproach that kind of aspect of it. But also don't know a lot of Japanese books. So Harry Potter is always my go-to. Like I started reading Harry Potter in Spanish recently. That's just always like because I'm not a big reader.
Mhm.
I have read all the Harry Potters and stuff like that, but like I'm a very like I go through spells. I don't know. I go through spells where I like to read. I like to read in other languages because it's like study, but also reading. But I don't know. I need to find something in Japanese. Have you read the Harry Potters in Spanish?
No, I didn't even read them in English. I got
What?
through like half of book one, and I'm like, I'm good, thanks.
Oh man, it's
I was
such a
back
such
in
a good
like, what was I in like fifth grade or something?
man. There's
That was
such a good series. I didn't start reading them. As a matter of fact, I bought the first Harry Potter book the day book 7 released.
I keep seeing everyone talking about reading the Harry Potter books and like in the language community in general, that's like a really popular series to read. I'm just like, I don't know if I care enough about Harry Potter.
Yeah.
I
The
mean, I did see like I think most of the movies. I know the whole story. I got spoiled for the ending, and I'm like,
mhm.
it's so big, so like it's
the
something knows.
The big thing for me, there's a question that popped up here, and I'll get to it in just a second. But the big thing for me about Harry Potter is it the level increases each book because the audience was getting older. So I think that's why they're so popular, because the first book is targeted towards elementary, and you work your way up to book 7, which is, I mean, it's a much hard. It's not hard, but like it's definitely a more advanced reader than what the first one is.
I didn't even think about that part. So maybe I should give Harry Potter a
Yeah.
chance.
If you don't like it, you don't like it. But like I think that's why they are. I think that is why they're so big. And I mean, they're big because they're great. And like I love the books so much. Like it's one of the few series that I've read. But in terms of that, like being able to start at that low end level and work your way up, each one is a milestone in terms of like, okay, I can read it a little bit higher of a level.
Series too.
Yeah. Yeah. Big Perm says, "Have y'all ever read graded readers? Have you ever read graded? I've never read graded readers. I know what you're talking about, but I've never read them.
Like books aimed at children.
Yeah, like hold on, let me go to Amazon
Or
here.
at language learners, like books made for children, or because in Spanish class, my teacher, second year of Spanish in high school, my teacher gave us all like a book for learners that was like a really basic, easy to understand story.
Mm-hmm.
It felt kind of childish compared to like what I read in English.
Yeah.
But I think that's aimed towards learners. Sounds that count.
Yeah, like I just went to Amazon here. There's a thing called like I just searched because the ones I'm familiar with are the Chinese graded readers. This one's just called like the Secret Garden, and it's Mandarin Companion Graded Readers Level 1 Simplified Chinese, and like they're designed to just slowly boost up. I have never read those. I've never read graded readers, but what I will say is, I've got to the point, and this is not like the way I've always been, so I'm not trying to pretend that is the way that it is. I used to really love to seek out children's shows and stuff like that, but like the way that I'm studying now is, if it's not something I would watch or read in English, I'm not gonna do it in my target language either. So like if it's a children's book, like unless it's like I would probably read some like Dr. Seuss books or something like that, because that's genuinely enjoyable to me. But other than that, I probably wouldn't. That's kind of a stupid statement though, because there are some really good children's like books and stuff. So I don't know. Maybe that's a bad. I don't know. I'm gonna have to give it a shot. I'll tell you what, Big Perm. I will give it a shot. I'll look into some Japanese graded readers.
Why not? Try it out.
Yeah.
I'm not big on children's books either, but I found like I have one in Italian about a cat that travels around Rome because she gets lost and can't find her way back home. And that has a lot of text in it, and it ended up being like a really it's a cute story, and it had a lot of vocab in it.
Yeah.
So I mean, they're not bad, but like I typically don't read children's books. I don't read middle grade. I don't even read like young adult, teenage fiction anymore.
Right.
So I would rather read like a romance or like a nonfiction book, or just I'm trying to read more fiction now in Spanish, like general fiction or like thrillers. So
yeah, have you a young person's read? Did you ever read El Principito in Spanish? El Principito.
I started it and then I put it down.
I did the same thing.
That's like another big one.
I know people kept recommending it. They were like, because I know it's in multiple languages too. I know it's in French. There's probably a Japanese version. I don't know, but like, yeah, I never got into it because like, yeah, man, it has to be specific. If it's like that young level, and I know that it's good to start with, but I wouldn't read it in English, so it's not going to interest me, and that's the biggest issue. But you show me a Japanese girl or boy playing Mario Maker and commenting over it, even though Mario is a child, I'll watch that all day long. So I mean, it's just about, whatever. Let's see. Somebody said reading manga is a great Japanese resource. That is true. I have a ton of manga that I need to get through. Channing says, have you ever studied Portuguese? I've never. I'm gonna say no. I don't count like 1 or 2 days on Duolingo just to see what the language is about as ever studying. I've never studied Portuguese. It's close to Spanish. I always call Portuguese the drunk Spanish.
It sounds like Russian.
It has a very weird sound to it. If you have to spell that I need to, my girlfriend is Portuguese, so now I'm learning. I have to make her short and then upload on the link. Oh, cool. But yeah,
I should have a Portuguese textbook because I was watching like some Girl Gamer Festival on Twitch, and they had a bunch of Brazilian teams. So all the Brazilians were like in the chat spamming. I'm like, oh my god, I understood that sentence because of the Spanish knowledge.
right.
And then I found like a $5 textbook at the bookstore recently, and I'm like, I'll just buy it.
Yeah.
But I like romance languages, so.
I go through that's my bookshelf is littered with stuff that I will probably never study, but like, and I'm trying to get better about that now. But like, I have like language ADD. I'm like, oh, there's a language book, I better buy it. Like,
yeah, I know. I have to like stop myself.
Yeah. Do you I've talked recently about this to a couple of people on this. What do you think in terms of going either maintaining a high level in one language versus maintaining maybe an intermediate level in multiple languages? Like, how do you think? Like, what is, I don't even know if opinion is the right word, but like, what do you think about like people? I mean, again, everybody does what they want to. I guess that's the thing. For you, what do you think? Would you rather be like would you rather Spanish just be your absolute best and then the rest kind of fall in place, or will you get your Spanish to a certain point and then jump to another?
I kind of like the approach. I like the approach where you have a lot of languages at like an intermediate level. I mean, I try not to dabble a lot, but I like dabbling too. So I mean, it's a hobby for me and it's fun. It's not like I need it for like a job or to live in the country or anything. That would be different than I think like if I needed it at a higher level, I would probably force myself to focus more. But like once you get it to an intermediate level, I feel like you should be able to communicate a lot already.
Yeah.
So then it's just about like pushing yourself, exposing yourself, more massive input to try and get it to like a more advanced level.
Yeah. And I know the intermediate level, I know the reason a lot of people stop there because that intermediate plateau just absolutely kills people.
Yeah, that too. I'm like, because I feel like my Spanish has to be somewhere around there. Maybe, I don't know.
You just feel like you're stuck spinning your wheels?
I feel like I'm like somewhere either close to intermediate or like low intermediate. I don't know. I can't judge my Spanish skills.
Yeah. Here's a you know, again, if I know that you've watched some of the stuff I do, so you know this is off the wall, but does I know that you tweeted, I think you tweeted right before that your boyfriend or something was playing games or something. Do they are they into languages at all?
No, not at all.
Not at all.
He's like, it's your hobby. Go enjoy it.
Gotcha. Okay.
I just tried like, because I was speaking to him in Spanish last night, and he was like, I don't understand you. Go to bed.
Nice.
But I need to practice.
Yeah. What I find it that seems to be more common. Like, I know that there's a couple of people, like, I know that Polyglot Progress, their entire, you know, they both love languages, and I'm like, I don't think that they understand how good they have it, because that's not usually the case.
Yeah. Most people think, like, I mean, I don't really talk about it to most people, but, like, I've gotten, like, comments like that, why are you doing that? That's kind of useless, or that's a weird hobby, and I'm like, it's fun. Like,
yeah.
I spend my time the way I want to. I mean, my boyfriend's like, fine, do whatever, and he's, like, watched Chinese dramas with me. Like, I've put them on the TV, and if I put English subtitles, he sometimes watches them with me.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's not like unsupportive, but he doesn't care.
Yeah, it's my wife just recently, because I told her I've been like immersing and stuff, and I'm doing, I mean, like hours a day, and like I even have recently I started where like I'll try to have an earbud in. I have my Bluetooth headset set on, and I'll have an earbud in with Japanese just blasting into my ear all day. That way, if there's a second when I can stop and think, that's an additional second that I hear that native language going into my head. But like, she recently asked me, she's like, is there any like Japanese shows we could watch and we could just turn subtitles on? Because actually have gotten pretty decent, and it's very hard still, but I have gotten decent at not reading subtitles. It's hard, but I've gotten decent at not reading subtitles while watching something that is subtitled. So she's been supportive in that regard. And then actually a long time ago, she actually did probably about half of the Duolingo Esperanto tree, because I was like, you should dabble in that. And she's like, I say dabble, but I was like, you should check that out. And she's like, I will, but she doesn't really care. So
I mean, it's a hobby. You like it, go for it. Study languages. If not, yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever?
Like, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna comment that you keeping like like an airbud. Oh my god, airbud in your ear, so you have Japanese playing all the time. That's like hard to do, because I tried that for a period of time with Spanish. I'm like, I just can't listen any more Spanish. Bye.
Yeah, it's I set up so I have two. Well, actually, I have 3 YouTube channels. Not where I upload. This is the one that I upload on, but I have 3 attached to this account, so I can just switch back and forth without having to sign in and out. And I have one that's called it's called Tejinashi, which is Japanese for like magician, because I used to do like sleight of hand, like card tricks, coin tricks, stuff like that. That's where the name came from. But and then I have another one that's called, it's the same thing, it's Tejinashi, but it's got a dash and it says passive. And the reason is because I started making this spreadsheet of how long I'm immersing, and that way I can see how long I've passively immersed and how long I've actively immersed. Now, if I'm doing Netflix or anything like that, I have to obviously count, the minutes. Like, okay, this show's 29 minutes. If I don't, and sometimes I'll even subtract 2 or 3 minutes because of the credits. Yeah. But if I watch all the way through, like Erased has a super sweet theme song, I'll listen to it. So I'll usually count like the full 29 or 30 minutes it is. But on YouTube, on the app, and even if you use YouTube predominantly on your desktop, it still tracks it via your phone. If you sign into your account and you go to settings, you can actually look at time watched. And if you look at time watched, it'll tell you. Like, I can pull my phone up right now, and I can tell you. And the reason I do passive and active, like I said, is so I can keep track. So, for example, passively today, time watched. Yeah, today, I don't know if you can see that or not. 6 hours. I've listened to. I don't know if it's going to show up because
That's
of the.
Like it's glaring.
Yeah, but 6 hours and 11 minutes of Japanese today. That's just passively, like while I was at work, walking around the house, doing whatever. Like, I'll always have it in. So even though it's probably not actually 6.5 hours of hearing it, I probably heard it a good like couple of hours just based on when like I finally like zoned in and I was like, I can listen to this for a second. And so I really like that.
So what do you count as active versus passive then? Because I also have like a spreadsheet where I have active and passive, but I've just found myself putting it all under passive.
I don't count anything, even if I'm quote unquote actively, like if I'm actually sitting down and just fully listening, I still don't count that as active. I only count active for the stage I'm at now, from where I need visual cues in order to help me understand the meaning. The only thing I count as active study or active listening or active input is if I'm watching a TV show or something like that. Anything where I'm just listening, like if the earbuds are in, even if I'm listening, but I still don't count that as active, because at that point it is just words, and I can pick words out here and there, but I still need the pictures and what's happening in order to solidify that in my brain, like right now where I'm at.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah. Like, for example, I was watching was it yesterday or 2 days ago? I don't remember. My days are running together. But I think it was 2 days ago, I was watching a Mario Maker video, and if I was just listening, this wouldn't have made sense, but I was watching it, and this girl picked up a P-switch, and it was a line of P-switches, so she had to throw. So she started going through, and she kept saying, Nagadu, 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 and I was like, okay, Nagadu, okay, that's clear, that has to mean throw, or something like that. And the visual cues of that did it, and of course I went and looked it up, and that's what it was. Nagadu is to like throw or something like that. And then there was another instance where lava was coming up, and she kept pushing down, and her character, was ducking shoes, and she kept saying "Haidu, Haidu, Haidu," and I was like, that has to mean like go in or fast or something like that. And I went and looked it up, and Haidu was like to enter or go in. So like the visual, and that's why that is like what I would consider active listening, because now those two words are absolutely solidified just because I've been able to pick them out because I've heard them multiple times, and then I have that visual representation and memory attached to them.
See, I do, like, if I'm watching like a Spanish YouTube video or like a show, a telenovela, and I like, pick up vocabs from a vocab word from the video, or if I pick out vocab or like sentences from the video I'm watching, I'm counting that still as passive listening.
Yeah, I mean it's ultimately it's up to it's up to whoever, I mean they if you still are listening and it's considered passive, you can still pick stuff up. That's just my personal preference, actually. And then, Big Perm says, I drive a truck and I just have podcasts playing going down the road. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And whatever counts, like whatever you want to count as active, if you are actively hearing it, like, and it's not just going in one ear out the other because you're doing something else, if you want to count that as active study, that's, I mean, whatever makes you comfortable.
My thinking was, have you ever heard of like the shadowing method?
Mm-hmm.
Where like you listen to the audio and I think you repeat with the audio.
Yep.
Like I was gonna try and do that as active listening practice, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, I find myself not doing that because I don't like the material I have. I don't have a good audio book or whatever.
Yeah, it's. I find shadowing, if you can get the right stuff, man, I find it to be very beneficial. I'm not using it with Japanese because my main focus is input. Like, I'm approaching this different than any other language I've studied. Like, I'm not worried about output right now. I will eventually get to that, and a lot of my thought process is Japanese is so different. I don't want to start speaking and then have to correct bad speaking patterns. So I want to get just input, I mean, I don't even know if I'll speak Japanese for a year. Like, I want to just drown in the sounds of it, and then I'll eventually start picking stuff up.
That's what I did with Spanish last year. Just like as much input as I could stand and just enjoy that learning process. Don't worry about speaking. Don't even worry about writing, because now I'm into like journaling and I'm like doing that pretty often. But I wasn't even thinking about that last year.
Yeah.
I think there's something to be said about just getting a lot of passive input and like a lot of immersing yourself in just the audio or just reading, just all of that.
Well, even if you don't understand it, it's going to train you, because the problem is let's say you complete the Duolingo tree, right? Perfect. That's fine. I have no qualms with that. Like, that's perfectly fine. The issue is when you go to speak to somebody, no one speaks like that, and that's not what it's going to sound like. So immersing yourself is going to train you on the way the language sounds. That way, at least when you get out, you at least can understand. You've trained yourself to understand where a word starts and stops.
It's kind of like the same with using a textbook. Duolingo, I think it's kind of like the same. If you have a textbook, like you learn sentences and vocab and also grammar points, but then that's not how people like speak when they're out there speaking casually.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because I was like going through my language books I have, because I'm trying to clean out like some of my books, and I'm thinking like, can I get rid of any of these? And when I was doing Italian, I did my Italian beginner's textbook, and then I picked up an intermediate textbook because I thought this should be useful.
Mm-hmm.
It really was just the same grammar points and just like slightly more difficult vocabulary, and I'm like, I probably could have skipped this and it was a waste of time. And I mean, I like textbooks to start, but
yeah,
I think after the beginning one, you should just move on to native material. Basically.
Yeah.
And I mean, you should always be like listening to something in the native language from the beginning.
Right.
Like, I like structure a little.
Yeah. No, I can agree with that. That's one thing that I am kind of struggling with right now is a structure. Like, I have a system, which I'm going to be talking to Matt tomorrow, so I'm going to ask him kind of some stuff to get situated, but there is no, that's the one thing about doing like the mass immersion approaches. There is a structure in terms of, hey, listen to crap, but like I need something. I don't know. I'll figure it out. Let's
Just a
see.
chaotic structure. Just live in the chaos.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I've learned to adapt. I mean, that's the thing. Which I've listened to Japanese off and on for 10 years. So when I'm listening to stuff, like, I pick out words a lot faster than some people because even though, I started this April 1st, but I've not been studying Japanese for 9 days. I've off and on studied it for 10 years. Um,
Yeah,
so,
I think
yeah, yeah.
I try to teach myself. I used to listen to a lot of Japanese rock music. I can probably still sing some of the like parts of some of the
Really, yeah.
songs.
Yeah, I love some Japanese rock music. I don't know a lot, but my favorite was I loved Hide or Japan X.
Hmm.
I loved which he killed himself, but
Yeah.
still I really love his music. But I'm also, man, I love some J-pop, dude. I love some of that like super colorful, bright stuff. Well, earlier I said that I wouldn't listen or watch something that I would not watch in English, and that's not true. J-pop I will watch. I would not watch that garbage in English if you paid me, but I don't know, something about J-pop is just entertaining as crap to me.
I know. J-pop and then K-pop too. It's like I probably wouldn't like this in English,
Yeah,
but I'm into this in like Korean or Japanese.
yeah. Um, where you live, do you have the opportunity, or is there this is kind of a stupid question because I feel like the Spanish population in every American town is higher than any other, but like, do you have like the opportunity to like at least speak it if you like, go to a restaurant or something like that?
Yeah. There, there's a big like Spanish community around here. Um, I'm just like kind of slightly terrified to speak to actual
Sure.
people.
Right.
So I have to get over that and get my self confidence up. But like there's a lot of Spanish restaurants. There's a good sized Spanish community. There's a Spanish newspaper here too that you can get.
Whoa. Are
I
you
mean, like,
are you in a bigger city? You don't tell me where you're at, but like, are you in a bigger city? I guess.
yeah, I'm in a city,
Okay. That-
central Massachusetts, if you want.
Okay, gotcha.
Probably figure it out from there. But
Yeah.
yeah, there's also like a good Portuguese community. So if I want to
Okay.
learn Brazilian Portuguese specifically, and then like there's a good Vietnamese population too, but I'm not
That's
touching Vietnamese.
that's amazing. Oh man, it's such an amazing. I know I talk about this all the time, but like, dude, the Vietnamese are the best. Like, if you like, because my struggle is if you get on like Hello Talk or anything like that. Like, honestly, Hello Talk, I paid for your membership and like I've never used it because no one ever answers my freaking messages on there. But the Vietnamese, man, they absolutely want to help you. They want to talk to you. They want to teach you their language. And I've always said it, man. It's because Vietnamese is kind of like that forgotten Asian language. They're like, we're Asian too. Learn us. You know what I mean? Like, it's amazing, dude. It's obviously, if you don't like it, you don't like it. But like, man, if you read about some stuff in Vietnam and like their culture and stuff, oh man, it's
It's
absolutely
actually
amazing.
it's one of the languages on my wish list, but I'm like slightly intimidated by it because the tones for one, and I know I like study Mandarin, but I feel like my tones in Mandarin are bad too. So the tones
It's
and just like it's so different. Like I feel
yeah.
like I have to approach it some other kind of different way. Like
Yeah, it's that's one thing. I've took some Vietnamese classes and like I can't hear the difference. Like the guy would be like, "Say it," and I'd be like, "Okay," and it'd be like, "Ah," and he's like, "No, ah," and I'm like, "Ah," and he's like, "No, ah," and I'm like, "Ah, I don't. What are you saying, man?" Like, oh, it was so hard.
oh my God. I was watching an episode of the Korean show My Neighbor Charles on
Mm.
YouTube, and they had a woman taking a Korean class, and she had the exact same problem you had. The teacher was like, pronounced like this, and she would say it, and she was like, no, that's wrong. And I'm like, I don't hear the difference either.
Yeah, yeah, man. It's they have. Hold on, I'm gonna look this up because the thing with them is they have Vietnamese alphabet. They have like the one thing about their tones is the letters are just designed so like it's not an A and then pending on like they just have three A's and each one is that specific sound. Yeah, let's see. They have three A's.
With accents over.
They have two D's, two E's, three O's, two U's. Like it's insane, man. I love it though, dude. It's the culture is great. Like especially for them being not. I mean, which we were in the Vietnamese. Obviously, the United States was the Vietnam War, but like for everything to have happened there, and like the stuff that they've went through, and the fact that I mean, really and truly, like they're still not really like an overly developed country, but like do they have a 99% literacy rate and like it's pretty amazing, man. It's a really fascinating culture.
So did you study Vietnamese at one point?
Yeah, I
I feel
tried.
like I missed.
I
Can you talk
tried.
about that on your channel? Because I feel like I missed that part.
Yeah, no, I think I studied Vietnamese before did my language channel. Like I did it. As a matter of fact, I did it. Hold on, when did I launch my channel? I can tell you exactly. Let me go to my profile and see when because it'll tell you when you started it. Your channel, which I started this channel before I started uploading videos because I started this channel. Like I got this email because I was like, I'm gonna use that to learn. All right, so I started this channel in September of 2014. My friend Evan, who lives in Japan now, he moved to Korea in August of 2014. So I started this right after because I remember messaging him and be like, dude, I finally started a channel for language learning. And he was like, oh, that's good. Like for just specifically just watching language content. And I started studying Vietnamese before he left. So I did that before I launched this channel. But I would like to get back into it because it's like I said, it's beautiful. It's amazing.
That's the problem with dabbling, though. Like I dabble a lot, and I'm like, I'll get back to it later.
Yeah. That's why I had to, that's literally one of the reasons I deleted all the crap off my phone and I don't study on my phone anymore is because every time you log into Duolingo, every time you log into anything, you see all the flags that you've looked at before or you're, hey, wonder what new courses they have on here, and that's completely out of my mind right now. Which
Yeah.
it's tough. Do you use I know that you know you love reading and stuff, but do you use like apps and stuff for learning?
I started using Lingo Deer just
Hmm.
recently.
Yeah, I
Um,
still love it. I do love Lingo Deer.
yeah, because I heard it's good for like all the Asian languages, like the big ones, Japanese, Mandarin, and Korean.
Hmm.
So I was playing with that. I like how they have it set up, and I like they have the little story at the end of each
Hmm.
lesson.
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty helpful, like a little side thing to do along with like main studying.
Right. Yeah, I like my favorite thing about them, and it's what I was doing with Korean is um, when you're going through, like once you hit that checkpoint. So like on Duolingo, once you pass that checkpoint, it's just done. But I love in Lingo Deer how you can go down to the test out feature, and even if you've passed all the lessons to that, you can still test out for everything before. That way, you can almost review what you've learned in a test instead of having to go into an individual lesson and trying to figure out where you need work. You can do that. I think that is an amazing feature. They probably didn't even mean to have that included, but like, I think it's a good way to review without having to do like if you didn't want to do like their flashcard system and stuff like that.
Yeah. I I tried Duolingo, but I never got far with it. And then I tried to test out in the Spanish one, and it kept like denying me because I made like silly little mistakes or like a typo, and I'm like, bye, I don't care anymore.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, they're like fun to do as like something alongside, like I don't want to say like a textbook or a course, but like the main So, like main studying, the way I do it is I have like my main studying and then like actual things to do on the side to help reinforce what I'm studying.
Hmm.
Like with Japanese, I have the textbook because that's like something that's a goal I can reach and it gives me like a structure.
Yeah.
And then I did start writing like a little personal journal in Japanese. It's all really bad and
Just
like
use what you can.
simple sentences. I'm like, all right, whatever. Um, and then like occasionally I also like to look up song lyrics. That's like an extra little thing, like a little fun thing to do on the side, but it's not gonna like teach me a language. If I only study song lyrics and listen to music, I'm not gonna learn
Yeah.
Japanese.
Yeah. Well, my what scares me about song lyrics, you don't think about it, but if you do think about it in English, like I can't remember what it's called, but there's a thing called it's something to the effect of freedom of art or something like that. And basically, like, if you're doing music, you can break grammar patterns and the way that people speak in order to make it fit your rhyme scheme or whatever it is that you're doing. And so I'm
Yeah.
always afraid if I definitely listen to music and there's songs in Japanese that I can listen to. I don't know what they're saying, but like I can do the words, you know. But I'm always afraid to like jump too far into it because I'm like, what if they mixed the phrase up just because they needed it to fit their pattern?
It might just be something like to pick up vocab here and there. And it's just like a fun
Yeah,
thing to do every now and again. Because like with Spanish, like some of the music has a lot of slang in it. So like you can pick up slang that way, depending what you
yes,
listen to.
yeah, no, for sure. Emily Castellanos says sometimes I take my phone with the idea to do something and I end up forgetting what I was going to do, and I focus on something that I shouldn't and I waste my time. That's another reason I got rid of my phone. I would do 5 minutes of Lingo Deer, and then I would do 55 minutes of Facebook or Twitter or whatever, and then what have I accomplished?
You need like an app that like stops you from like the forest app where you can set a timer and then you can't use your phone. So
Yeah.
I'll be like, all right, I'm gonna like work in my textbook for 30 minutes. And if I get distracted because my phone's over here, oh no, I don't want to kill my tree. My
Yeah.
fake digital tree.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
I should use that because I don't because like when I do most of my study. That was always my I told Matt this in September that I wanted to move and start doing my study because I knew this was a problem. Like there's no question about it. This thing right here is a problem that
mhm.
I don't have the ability to not look at. So I thought I've got to get rid of that. And so I finally did. And I thought about doing that because when I'm here on my computer, I don't do anything on my phone. I have anything I need to use is here. I use Netflix or YouTube or anything on my phone. I use a program called Yomi-chan, and I have it synced to my Anki account. So if there is something I'm watching and I decide, hey, I'd really like a flashcard, I hold the Shift key, I hover over the entire word, and I scroll down and I click a button, and it's in Anki with the expression, the reading, audio, and just kind of how it's used in multiple different ways. So like I fully got away from my phone, and it was a really big struggle at first, but now like it's a lot easier for me.
Yeah, it's like it's too easy. Just get distracted. Just scroll through Facebook, and then it's like an hour later. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
that's not good. I mean,
Yeah. Which I would spend most of my time I would spend on Twitter because like, and I'm sure you probably are the same. Do a lot of your friends care about your language stuff at all?
no,
No.
no, I'm the weird one.
Yeah. So I have my Twitter, my Seabolt Speaks. That's what I use most, and it's because it's people that I follow who love languages, and I know that's what it's going to be. Facebook. Anytime I read Facebook, I'm just like, ugh. But I kind of feel like what's really interesting is about Twitter and the language community and stuff is, do you know? I don't know if you follow her or not. I don't remember how to pronounce her last name. Valeria, what is her last name? Tora something.
I
Valeria. What is her name? Come on, man. Pop up. How's that not Valeria? There we go. Valeria Tiorina. Probably butchered that. But anyway, what's interesting is she made a video called "Are YouTubers Replacing Your Friends?" And I watched it. It's like 30 minutes long, and it was really crazy because it's super accurate, because she talks about how her friends don't like... I'm gonna actually, if anybody has any interest, I'm gonna link that video. I'll link that video in the description below. You can watch that at some point if you want to. You don't have to, but just in case, because it's a very interesting video. It's a very long video. Like I said, it's 26 minutes. But anyway, but she talks about how her friends kind of don't really care about what she's doing. And they don't really want to hang out, and they don't want to do this, that, and the other. And you eventually start going to YouTube, or in my case, people that I know love learning languages and stuff on Twitter, and those people have become your friends, even though it's people that you've never met in real life. But those are the people that you interact with the most, and it just hit me in such a weird way, because Valerie she is a friend of mine. I would consider her a friend. We chat from time to time, and same thing with you. We chat from time to time. So, you know what I mean? And it's like,
Yeah.
These people absolutely replace your friends. Like, and it's not that they're replacing, but like, it was a very weird video. Like, if you get a chance to watch it, Valerias video, definitely do it, because it's a very interesting concept of the internet has given you the option to, essentially make new friends who have the interests that you do.
Yeah. No one I know in my city or real life, I guess, has an interest in language learning. So, like, most of the people I talk to about that, the friends I make in the language learning community, are like on Twitter or YouTube, or not so much Facebook.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Twitter, YouTube, basically, Instagram.
Yep. It's because you can interact with people. What was my point? I feel like I do that so much, man. I start going, and I just don't know where I'm going. Like, it's kind of like in The Office, where I start a sentence, and I don't know where I'm going, but I hope it catches up by the end. I basically just hope I find my way there, I guess. But,
have you ever had anyone, like, actively try to discourage you from learning a language? Like my boyfriend doesn't care either way. Mm-hmm. Right? But...
I wouldn't say that I've had anybody discourage me, but I have had the remarks from family and friends that you can tell have a little bit of sting on them, that they're just like almost taunting you with the not believing you can do it, or that it's useless thing, Like, I can remember growing up, which I got into learning languages in 2009, and which I was 4 years out of high school. I graduated in 2005. And I remember talking about learning Japanese, and like I was going to go to Japan and do all this stuff, and I can remember, which I've not been, so I guess my parents were right, but I can remember my parents being like instead of being like, oh, that's really cool, or this, that, and the other, it was always, oh yeah, like that kind of thing. You know what I mean? Oh yeah, that sounds cool. Like, so I've never been discouraged, but I've definitely basically been openly mocked, if that...
No, my parents were the same way, because I remember being young and like, I want to go to Japan one day, and they were like, all right, sure, that happened. Mm-hmm. I had my dad was like, you're never gonna learn a language, so why are you even trying? Like, I would have Telemundo on, and he'll be like, can you even understand anything? And I'm like, that's something out there.
That's the most. What's funny is, and like, my parents are essentially the same way, but that's the most American ideology ever. Like, that's the most, like, if you want to sum up America,
you only need English, and everyone should learn English.
Yep. We're super proud of it. Like, other countries are like, oh, you speak something else? That's cool. Come on in. And America's like, you don't speak English? Look, we're the only country really that doesn't have a national language, but you have to speak English. Like, that's what's weird. Countries that actually have national languages are okay with other languages, but a country that doesn't have an actual set national language gets irate with people speaking anything but English.
It's some weird part of our culture. And then also, the United States is so big, you don't really need anything other than English. Like
Yeah.
in Europe, you have tiny countries where they're like you
Right.
kind of need to know another language
Yeah.
or the language of your neighbor.
Yep.
But
See, Big Perm said, I live in the South and everyone tells me to give up Japanese and learn Spanish, so I'm now opposed to learning Spanish. I mean, I wish that I had the mentality about languages now, or in high school that I do now, because that was why I was always opposed to learning Spanish, was because it was kind of that was the expected thing. But like, man, if, I know people hate classrooms and stuff. Man, I'd love to go back and just actually take that time serious because it could have propelled me to a whole nother level of Spanish. But I don't know. I mean, keep doing what you want. Spanish. I mean, here's the thing. Would Spanish probably be the most beneficial language to learn? Yes, for an American. If you don't want to learn it, you are wasting your time. Like
I
it's
agree. Like you need to have an interest in the language,
yeah,
or you just unless like need it to like survive. If you don't have an interest in the language, you're not really gonna bother putting in the work or the effort
you know,
to learn it. Like,
yeah. You definitely have to have like a want to do it. That's people will all the time say, "What is the easiest language to learn?" That's simple. It's the language you want to learn because that's the one that you have interest in. That's what's going to keep you going. Have you ever been like out of the United States to like
um,
to be able to speak or anything?
does Canada count as out of the United States?
Well, I'm sure.
Technically, although I didn't know French at the time, so I don't even know French now, so that's useless.
I,
Nah, I've just been stuck.
Gotcha.
Beautiful New England.
Yeah. I found it weird that Canada is so much like the United States and it borders the United States, and then Mexico is so different. Like, I mean, it's similar, but like in terms of like, how is this portion like? All right, cool. Like, we're gonna speak English, do whatever, and then down here, it's just like that's when you get into like a whole new world. Like, it's really crazy to me because they both border the United States.
Maybe it's more blurred near the border. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a
It's like
weird.
Arizona has a lot of um, Mexican influence, right?
Hmm.
Texas probably too. I don't know. I've never
Yeah.
even been to Texas or Arizona.
Oh man, I stayed a summer in Houston and it was fantastic, man. Like, and this was before I got into languages, but man, seeing like so many cultures, just like I'd never seen that because I'm from a small town, 5,000 to 6,000 people. Which granted, this area is pretty mixed diversely. Like, there's a lot of different ethnicities represented here, which is really strange
Hmm.
for it to be so small. But like, man, going down there, it was just an overabundance, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's Japanese people, there's Chinese people, there's Persians, there's Iraqis, there's Vietnamese, like from everywhere. Like it was crazy. I'd never really seen anything like that.
I'm lucky that I live in a pretty diverse area. I mean, it's just, there's like an Arab bakery, like a couple streets one
Whoa.
direction. It's like a Syrian bakery or something. There's a Russian community here. I'm sure I can find more if I think, but
Yeah, man. So yeah, you that's the. I'd love to have that stuff, man. I've got to drive. I have to drive several hours to get to the closest, like big, like not even big city, but like bigger city. Like it's terrible. But um, uh, I want to go to Massachusetts because I want. You said Massachusetts, right?
yeah.
Okay, yeah. I want to go to Boston because, and this is like not language related at all, but like I really want to stay at Lizzie Borden's at the bed and breakfast there.
Go for it.
Yeah, like
Been yet, but
I do what?
I haven't been there yet, but
Yeah, like I'm really fascinated by stuff like that. Like, um, And the fact that because it's like, it's not that I'm interested in it, but it's really trippy to me to like go in there, because if I'm not mistaken, I think they even have some of the original furniture still there, and like it's more of like a weird thing to me, like where I'm like, dude, like someone was literally murdered, like how many ever 100 years ago, whatever, like someone was literally sitting on this couch and got axed to death. Like that's crazy to me. Like it's really creepy to me.
Now spin that into language learning somehow.
Let's see. So I could learn about, yeah, I don't know. I would be in Boston, so I would learn. I'm really mad. I had a friend that just went to Boston for when they did PAX East or whatever it is, that gaming conference, and I was like, dude, you got to go to Lizzie Borden's. He was like, all right, and then he did not go. But people like different things, I guess. So what? So I know that you said you're learning Spanish. We'll start spin this back into language learning. But like, I know that you said that you were learning Spanish, and you wanted to learn Japanese. But what do you think would be coming down the pipeline after that in terms of languages? Like, what else is on your list of things that you need to learn or want to learn? I know that's a pretty open question, because like you could probably put every language in the known universe there, but like, what do you see directly? Like, what are your top? You don't have to give me a top X amount, but like, what are your kind of the top, like where you would want to go to in terms of learning?
Let's see. I mean, I'm trying to balance Spanish, Japanese, Italian, and Mandarin, but that's not working out. So probably try to get Italian and Mandarin up to like a decent level next. And actually, like, French, I definitely want to get to. I like my Romance languages.
Sure.
And
what about Romanian? Because that's
Romanian. I don't know if I'll get.
That's kind of the forgotten Romance language of the bunch.
I like Romanian. I don't know if I'll get to that anytime soon. I did actually, though, start learning a little bit of Catalan, and I've been learning it through Spanish, so that's been interesting.
Okay, kind of laddering a little bit.
And then Korean is also next on my list. So after Spanish, Japanese, Mandarin, Italian, and my Italian, I feel like I should just be better at than I am now. I feel like I need to start doing like more massive input. Because I technically finished a beginner's book and an intermediate book, but whatever that means.
Right. Now you got to start applying it.
Yeah, pretty much. I need more input. But then after those four, definitely French and Korean.
Okay. Do you have a probably a decent French speaking community there?
Like native French speakers, I don't know, but there's probably a lot of French learners.
Okay.
But I mean, I could just drive up to Canada once we're allowed to move around.
Once we're allowed to go out. Yeah, I guess really any of those questions about speaking out in public, that's an open-ended question, because that's, as of right now, no. So you could do some what is all the stuff that the channels are doing? The VR chat thing?
Yeah, I saw some of those.
Yeah. That's blown up, man. That's like all my YouTube is like X plays VR chat, speaks, blows somebody's mind, whatever.
I mean, they're entertaining, but I mean,
they are. I keep so like I work for Moses. I work for Laoshu 55,000, and I will moderate his streams, and everybody's like, do VR chat, and I'm like, guys, I understand why you're saying that, but he does that in person, like that, like why would he do it on a video? Which I guess now makes sense because of the coronavirus and stuff, but like he does it in person. Why not just do that? Like, but that's always the number one thing. When are you going to do a VR chat?
I think it's more impressive he does it in person, to be honest, because he just goes out there and he just starts speaking, and I'm like, I wish I had that confidence.
I was asking him about that the other day, because I went to, there's still like a lot of the restaurants around here and like, I don't like to go out, but at the same time I understand these places are hurting, so me and my wife will try to support like the local businesses. And most of them are doing a thing where you can order and you literally drive up and they'll bring it to your car and they'll get the cards and they have gloves. I mean, the whole, 9 yards and stuff. And so, like, we got, I like Mexican food more than just about anything, and she likes Chinese food. So I went to the Chinese place and the Mexican place. So I know a little bit of Chinese and I know a little bit of Spanish. And I was like, today's the day, man. I still have the recording on my phone because I turned it on and I was like, I'm going to go here and do this. And I turned my phone on, I recorded, and I went in. And I couldn't do it, man. I had the sentence. I even worked out, like, in Mandarin specifically, I had worked out, like, a small, like, conversation by myself of how I thought it was going to go. And I was going to go in and I was just going to be like, like, I was going to ask, do you speak Chinese? Ni shuo zhongwen. And, like, and then I thought she'd be like, oh, wow, you speak Chinese? Like, who taught you? Which is like, Shui jiao ni zhongwen. Shui jiao ni zhongwen. Now, anyway. And then I was gonna be like, oh, I teach myself, which is like, 自学的, and like,我没有老师, I don't have a teacher. Like, I was working this whole thing out in my head, and I got there, and I was like, business been okay? You know what I mean? Like, I couldn't do it.
Yeah, I know. There's like so many places around here, but it's just, oh man, like I have a local Chinese place I go to too, and I know they know Mandarin because I've got like a word or two, and I'm like, I could just say ni hao.
Yeah.
I can't even think of Mandarin anymore, or like all the Spanish places around. But like, it's one thing to plan it and do it, and it's another. I mean, it's one thing to plan it in your head, and it's another to actually go and do it. Like, I don't have the confidence right now, but that's why I'm trying to like speak to myself. And I've recently been like recording myself speaking sometimes. Like, I was reading in Spanish last week, and I was recording myself as if I was making a book vlog video where I'm like, here's the book I'm reading, it's about this, and I'm only 20 pages in, I don't have an opinion yet, but in like Spanish.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to do that from memory too, which is super fun.
Right.
But like, so I'm trying to speak to myself to make myself just feel comfortable speaking, and then maybe I'll eventually try going out there in the wild.
Yeah. It's so hard. It's so hard. Rasmus, hey, hello, welcome to the stream. It's so hard. Like, I think that I know that people, and I know that I always sound like I'm some sort of shill for Moses, and it has nothing. I was a shill for Moses before he paid me to work for him, but like, I don't think people understand how hard it is to do what he does. Like, I don't care if it's the same conversation 100 times, whatever people want to rag on him about. Going to someone and getting out of your comfort zone and just trying to speak to someone, even if you just want to say hello, is unnerving.
I don't even like speaking to people in English half the time. I'm like,
that's true too.
Like, I just don't have the confidence. But like, Moses' videos, I like his videos because like, it's motivational because you see him putting his knowledge in practice and in action. Like, he's not just speaking, he's out there doing it. Yeah. I mean, I appreciate videos, but like, I don't have confidence.
Yeah. Well, and I will say that he, one of the things that I do like to, and one of the reasons I like Moses and that I will always support him, which he doesn't need now with his channel being so huge, but like, he leaves in when he messes up and he'll be like, oh shoot, I forgot. How do I say that? Like, like, and to me, that's the realism of it. He doesn't cut that stuff out to where it sounds like he's always perfect. Like, he'll leave that little banter where he's like, he'll even put it in the subtitles. I have no clue what this person said just now. Like that to me.
He's doing it like because he loves it. Like, he's not doing it to feed his ego or anything.
Right.
I mean, that's how it comes off.
Yep.
I got it. But.
Yeah. Rasmus says, but have you ever thought what stops you from talking? What makes it so hard to talk? I have an exact answer to that, and it's because, honestly, if you want to know the truth, I know that the person I'm asking is going to speak that, and I know they're going to talk back, and I'm afraid of not knowing what they said. Because then they're just... and I know that they're never going to be like, oh, you're just a little poser, blah blah blah. But I also, that's my like pessimistic mind where I'm like, they're going to just immediately, even though they would probably be like, that's so cool, thank you for learning how to say hello. But like, that's exact. I'm honestly afraid if I know that I don't speak the language that someone speaks. Like for example, I was in Walmart and there was a Nigerian in front of me, and so I'll ask. I don't even care anymore. Like I'm just like, hey, where are you from? Which I always feel weird because I'm always afraid they're like, oh god, here's another crazy white dude in Virginia. I hope he's not gonna kill me. But like, I'm always like, no, I learn languages. You know, like I love cultures. And he's like, oh, I'm from Nigeria. And I was like, oh man, I don't know any African languages. Like I don't know any of the stuff over there or anything. But like I think that's really cool. Anyway, but like I was fine with asking him if he spoke something because I knew that no matter what he said, I wouldn't speak what he spoke. But I can't. Which I have talked to a Spanish guy before in a Mexican restaurant, but it was still, even after doing it once, I'm like, I don't know if I can do it again.
Yeah, I'm afraid I wouldn't like understand what people say back to me, and I'm like, oh no, I'm not ready for this.
Yep.
But I also just have like general anxiety and social anxiety, so even in English, I'm like, I don't want to talk to people.
Yeah, it's like I try to be as like I don't know. I try to be as like conversational as I need to be if I see somebody, but like, which I'm a lot more conversational on this, but there's also a big difference that like it's on a video. Like I wouldn't be standoffish in person, but like yeah, I definitely I don't know. I'm not like a big like social butterfly or anything, so. Like the whole social distancing and stay at home thing, I mean, that's just a normal weekday for me, so.
So if you don't speak with people
Mm-hmm.
out in public, how can we get speaking practice in? Because I need to up my game with that. I guess you can find like a tutor or someone to practice with. You pay money that way.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's apps like HelloTalk, but I always have trouble with them. I think in the entire history of me using HelloTalk, I've had maybe 2 people respond to a message ever. So I don't really care for it. Honestly, one thing I will say is that VR chat, which I know they made where you don't have to have the VR setup anymore. You can just play normal. I may download that because you just go to those places, and even if you're not talking, you can at least sidle up beside of somebody and just hear the conversations they're talking.
Yeah, I may want to try that too, because then you can also be kind of like anonymous, and no one has to see what you look like if that freaks you out.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
'Cause, I mean, that and plus, I'm just recording myself, and I don't know if I want to upload videos of like me vlogging in Spanish. I was thinking of that. Like another thing I started doing was I was playing the game Vanished on Steam,
Hmm.
and I was just talking to myself while I played. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna build a house for my people and whatever else happens in the game. But I don't know, because it's hard to get out there and start speaking to people, even if you plan stuff out.
Hmm.
Just it takes a lot of confidence and just being like, ah, screw it, I'm just gonna go for it. But maybe like VR would be like a good place to start since
Yeah,
you are kind of like anonymous more.
yeah, and it's easier to. It's definitely easier to speak that way. I mean, you got to think about. I know that you upload stuff on YouTube. I don't know. I don't know if you've ever had like a super, like, even negative comment, but like people are way more inclined to just be more open when it's behind a mask. You know what I mean? And that makes it easier for you as well, like to be able to talk to even honestly even on like Facebook and stuff where you're not in a face-to-face situation, like conversations can go a whole different way.
Yeah. I mean, my YouTube channel is kind of small, so I haven't really gotten any negative comments, but I feel like I don't care if people, like, if that comes at some point, whatever. So, because it's
Yeah.
like more anonymous, because you're not face to face. So I think that's kind of some of the fair too
Hmm.
when it comes to speaking out in public. Like, you're face to face with someone, body language plays a part in communication. I don't know, just it's more anxiety. And then you're like, I don't know if I'm saying this correct. What if they don't understand me? What if I can't understand them? It's like, I know you have to eventually get over that fear, which is what I want to try and work on this year, later in the year, but it's a lot to work on.
Yeah.
It's a lot
Oh no, for sure. Rasmus says, "Same here. I'm always afraid of not understanding, but when I moved to Estonia 5 years ago, I used the no English rule, and in the beginning it was painful. For example, I was in a bank trying to open an account, and I told the bank clerk to speak to me in Estonian, and she spoke like 3 or 4 minutes, and all I heard was 4 to 5 words. It was so embarrassing. I mean, I believe it, but I mean, I know that that's like, I mean, that's a tried and true method because it forces yourself. I know, my buddy Luke, uh, I think, he when he was in China, was it Luke that I was talking to? Oh my gosh, dude, I've done. People are running together now. Somebody, I think it was Luke, said that when he went to, yeah, he said that he went to see his girlfriend for 2 weeks. This may not have been in video. This may have just been me and him talking on Facebook. But he said that he went to see his girlfriend. This was before he moved to China, and like, or yeah, before he moved to China. And he specifically said when he landed his plane, he would not speak English under any circumstance until he left. I think it was Luke that said that. Yeah, all right, buddy. There's my cat sneezing. Yeah, all right. But like, I know that that's supposed to be a tried and true method, man. Make yourself speak it. As English speakers, though, we are very blessed because no one wants to speak their language to us because they want to practice English. It's a blessing and a curse.
I was gonna say it's not helpful for me.
I read a blog post, but dude, are you dying? What are you doing? You all right? Okay. My cat has like a really weird like cough, which he's getting old. Anyway, that's a whole. So I read a blog from Shannon Kennedy, and she had said she was learning Turkish or Hungarian, wherever that Drops the company, like, or the app, because she does work for them wherever they're from, Hungary, Turkey. She was learning their language, and like she said that on the taxi trip from her hotel to. Do you need me to get you something? Are you okay, buddy? Come here. Good lord, my cat is dying or something, man. He's sneezing like crazy. She said that on the way from the hotel to the office where these guys were, like, she kept trying to speak Turkish Hungarian. I'm going to say Turkish because I have no clue. Turkish. And the guy would just basically shrug it off and be like, oh, that's cute. Anyway, in English, blah, blah, blah. And she said, like, she could not get them to speak Turkish to her because it was an opportunity for them to practice English.
Mm-hmm. Well, then you just have to pretend you don't know English.
Yeah. Yep. And then they go, they go crazy. And then you're like, ooh. Yeah, I don't know. My Spanish is rusty. I just start, what? How is it rusty?
Just make up a language. Just throw sounds out there.
Yeah, that's where I can fall back on Esperanto. They're like, oh, Spanish? And I'm like, nope. And they're like, oh, it kind of sounds French too. And I'm like, yep, but nope. So, let's see. That's such a good idea, virtual reality for learning languages. I don't know if that's what you meant by VR. Yeah, well, so VR chat is a thing. Drops, okay, sorry, somebody just commented after that and said Drops is an Estonian app. I did not know that. So VR chat is a thing. There's tons. If you just search VR chat, your channel or your YouTube searches will be humongous. It'll just be blown up. It's everywhere. Yeah, you just create an avatar and you can go, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong. Well, on the videos you've seen or whatever, but like I think there's like different areas, right? Like you can go to Japan or Mexico or wherever, and that's like the land that's because you can go to the United States or like an English speaking area, like, and I think it's literally just something like that.
There's an older game that had that same kind of idea. You had a virtual avatar and you could travel to different areas, and people made their own like room or something you could go to. Now I can't remember the name of it, but it's really old and
yeah.
not,
you know what?
maybe.
I'm gonna download that tonight and just see what's up. That's what I'm gonna do.
I probably will too now, because that actually doesn't sound like a bad idea.
Yeah.
To give that a try.
I have such a hard time with hearing foreign languages, but have a much easier time reading and writing. Yeah, that's the tried and true language issue, and that's why you, even though you don't understand it, man, you have to start just, you gotta just start listening to stuff. You gotta start listening to native content, and it's not gonna make sense for a long, long time, but eventually you are going to get used to the sounds.
Yeah, you really have to. Like everything I look up regarding like improving your listening skills just says to listen to everything you can basically, and it'll just happen. And it's
Yep.
like, okay, I want to believe that and it's probably true,
Yep.
but there's no quicker method for that.
Yep. You literally, you just have to painful, because the problem is, if you wait until you learn the language in order to speak it, you still don't know the language. Because when you see these words in these applications or in context, or not in context, I'm sorry, if you see these words in these applications, they are used completely different in the real world. Like there's no, like you, and there's been times, so like I've been watching a Japanese show and they'll play a word, right? Like this is gonna be, I know what this word means, but I'm just gonna use this as an example. So like hontoni, which means like really or truly, or like some kind of, we kind of used in that manner. Well, like I learned the word, right? Then I heard it in a TV show a bunch, and I was like, "What is that word?" And I had to relook it up because I had never heard it in context before.
Hmm.
So you just have to start listening. I also have a hard time learning anything in class just listening to a teacher and need visuals and or to follow along. I've mentioned this earlier. I have two YouTube channels for Immersion, Japanese. Well, for Japanese both, I have a passive, which is where I just have the sound on it. I try to do 24/7, but it's like it's 6.5 hours today, but like just always have the sound going into my ear. And then I have another channel where I'm watching videos, listening. Listening takes practice. See, that's the thing. Listening, if you really want to get technical, listening does not take practice. Now, in order to understand it, it does. But if you just let if you just let whatever you're listening to just go into your ears and just concentrate on what they are saying, to where you eventually will train yourself. Even if I had no interest, let's say for example, if I took Vietnamese, right? Could not, if I heard someone speaking Vietnamese right now, it would just be a string of nonsense that I wouldn't be able to tell you where a word started and where a word ended. If I never studied vocabulary at all, listened to Vietnamese 5 hours a day, I guarantee you in a year, even if I didn't know what they were saying, I would be able to tell you which word was which in terms of, okay, this is a word, this is a word, this is where it starts, this is where it stops. You just got to do it, man. You just got to start listening.
Yeah, you get used to like the flow of the language.
Yep.
You can pick up those little things.
Yep. And you can't replace native conversation. I don't get, like, it's, you can read dialogues and stuff that are pre-written, and those are perfectly fine. I in no way, shape, or form am saying anything negative about them, but native conversation is vastly different. So that's
That's been my experience too, just trying to listen to mostly YouTube in Spanish. Just, I had the textbook, I took classes, but having that constructed dialogue is not the same as listening to people speak, just freely, casually, just speaking.
Yeah.
Like different things. And that's why I need to start talking, but
Yep. It's so hard. I mean, it definitely is. I don't know. Hopefully you can get set up on that VR chat and like just kind of start going, and hopefully that'll work. Because I really do think, I think it's a great idea. I really do. I think it's, I think that might be like low key. Like honestly, if you talk about best language learning resources, VR chat might be at the top of the list right now.
I'm gonna try and download that next week because I'm working this weekend. So I'm gonna try and play with that next week.
Yeah.
See how that works.
Yeah.
Because I have a feeling just from talking to myself that I probably can speak more than I think I can, but we'll see.
You definitely you learn what you can and can't do when you're in a fight or flight situation.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like it definitely can come to that. Well, I do you have anything else that you wanna chat about or anything? Or do you have any questions or anything like that?
Not really. I mean, the big thing I mentioned to you, I just wanted to talk really about reading because that was like the big improvement I made last year.
Yeah.
I feel like we covered that enough. Um, I don't know. Do you have any other questions for me or?
I don't think so. Let me double check this. And anybody listening or watching, if you have any questions, let me know. Let me go back to this DM and make sure I didn't pass over anything. Where am I at? Here we go. Because that was the main thing, just about. We talked about that immersion books. Yeah, man, I think we pretty much covered anything. So let me double check the chat and make sure. Okay, well, here we go. Here's a question. We'll finish up with this because it's actually a very valid question. I don't know. I don't remember if we touched on it. It says you did actually kind of touch on this, but we can kind of go maybe go a little more in depth. But how do you read as a beginner? That's a good question.
Okay, I'm trying to think how because now I just read.
I
I guess when I first tried to read Spanish, I was going for like children's books, which weren't really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And then I tried like young adult books, but I was kind of growing out of that at that point. And then I found my romance books, which are short, so they're easy to read through and they're predictable. So then what I started doing last year was I would either read on my e-reader and highlight words, or I would take out a notebook and pen and paper and just write down vocab or sentences, and then translate them into English later. You just start reading something you enjoy and something that is at your level, which can be difficult to find.
Yeah.
It's going to be difficult no matter what because you're not going to understand everything. Even like my Italian children's book, like I learned a lot of vocab from there, and I'm like slightly embarrassed because it's a children's book, but at the same time, like, I mean,
yeah,
that's what it is. So you just gotta pick something you're interested in and just like power through it. Because honestly, once you get through it enough, and it helps if it's a story that you've read in English before too. Like
yeah,
Harry Potter is
absolutely.
well known. And there's like so much Harry Potter fan fiction too, to use Harry Potter as an example. Like you could just move on to fan fiction written by native Spanish speakers if you're into that.
Yeah.
You kind of just have to power through. Don't highlight every single little thing because it slows you down and it's so demotivating.
Yep.
And then just learn the vocab either through the context, make flashcards if you want, which is what I do. And I look up the words. Like now I'm using like the Spanish dictionary on my e-reader while I'm reading, but
yeah.
Otherwise, I look up the words later because it's just like I don't want to ruin the flow of reading.
Yeah, no, for sure. And my main point that I would make in starting to read as a beginner is what you just touched on, and that is do not highlight every single word.
You're gonna get annoyed.
That is a terrible idea. It will demotivate you, and you will quit because you're not going to. It's not going to happen. Honestly, I mean, and you got to think about it. Are there English books that you read to this day and still don't know every word? Yes. I mean, I read books. Well, I don't read books. When I read books, there are words all the time that I come across where I'm just like, I have no idea what that means.
The other thing is, too, if you're not, like, in the mood to read something, like if I'm reading in English, my native language, and I'm just not in the mood, like I could be reading and then just not comprehend anything because I'm not paying attention.
100%.
I'm like, well, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to keep going because if you're not, well, I might put the book down and come back to it, but like I'm not going to reread everything. No. Not all the time, like because I'm reading for fun. I'm enjoying it. So who cares?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the key thing in all that is you're doing it for fun. If you make learning fun, It's going to happen, man. I'm telling you, I learned 3 vocabulary words from Mario Maker yesterday because it was fun. Like, it's not like and it's not Mario related. It's words that I can use like in normal situations. So,
Yeah, so like most books too, when you
yep,
read, they're using vocab that you can transfer to everyday activities. Like
yeah,
even fantasy, there's like genre specific words, but like, then you have all the other words like he walked across the hill or something,
yeah,
whatever. Easily use that elsewhere.
yeah.
The only other thing I would say is like, so for me, I liked reading romances, which are short and predictable, but like another genre you might want to look into if you're a beginner is nonfiction because
Yeah.
like especially with like I like reading history books too.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like it's more like based on facts and you don't have to follow a flowy story. You don't have to worry about getting lost in like a made up world and
Right.
whatever the plot is. So it's more like predictable basically.
Yeah.
So if you don't like children's books or young adult books, that's another option to look at.
Yeah. And what's actually funny is I had never heard of this idea of nonfiction stuff until recently. And not to make this the Luke Truman show here, but my buddy Luke said, I was talking to him about doing some immersion, and he was like, you need to find some good nonfiction books. And I was like, at first I was like, okay. Like, I was like, maybe that's a typo. Like, all right. But yeah, like I'd never heard of that. But yeah, from where it's something that's already happened, and if you're reading about it, there's an probably high chance you know what's going on because you're reading the subject. That's why you're interested in it. So you can start piecing that stuff together. That's 100%.
Yeah. Just be careful you don't get like into something really specific that you have no idea what's happening, like reading about genetics or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
That'd be tough on,
Yeah.
like English for me, and I'm like,
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Like if I opened up a manual for like a car engine and tried to read it in English, I wouldn't be able to tell you any of those words. So it definitely goes both ways. Let's see. I'm just going to close out with a couple of these comments. I'll just read them real quick. How do you read as a beginner? We get that reading. I want to start learning Icelandic, but I have no idea how to read Icelandic. I couldn't find any parallel text for Icelandic. Go to Twitter and tweet Polyglot Files. He just did a language jam for Icelandic. I think he's got some stuff. I just discovered this channel. Are you a teacher? If so, I am not a teacher. I am not a teacher. Parallel texts are usually like training wheels. Yes. Merpa derp, yo, hey, what's going on? I am about to end the stream, but thank you for joining. Kind of put myself under pressure. I'm considering to study at the university in Icelandic in the future, and that takes fun out of it for sure. Medical vocabulary is important too for travelers, for health professionals. That's true. I mean, if it's your job, I mean, yeah, for sure, you definitely need that information. But I don't personally like. I probably won't stay in the field of medical vocabulary for my Japanese unless I get to the point where I'm like, I just want to add new vocabulary. Like I had, for example, yesterday I had the interview with Chad Zimmerman, who speaks Japanese, and he was talking about how he can tell you stuff about fishing and things of that nature because that's his interest, right? He loves to like fly fish. He goes to Japan and does the fishing with their crazy old time rods that they have and stuff. And he said, so I can outspeak anybody at that. But I could not tell you how to say tie your shoe because it's never come up. So I mean, you get your own sphere. You get your own what interests you. Like for example, I'm going to learn a ton of wrestling vocabulary in Japanese because wrestling I love. But I could see the average person not learning that vocabulary because why would they? You pick and choose. So, yeah. Well, I thank you for coming on. Thank you. It was super fun.
For having me.
If you want to plug away, I do have her YouTube channel in the link below. You can go check that out in case you are lazy as I am and you don't feel like looking through and clicking. It is just called Marissa Longo / Lisa Learns Languages, I believe.
Yeah.
So you can, as a matter of fact, when I went to, which I am subscribed to your channel, but when I just searched for Marissa Longo, it was
Is This doesn't pop up. It's a
It,
small channel. It has to
it's
grow.
it popped up. It was like one of the only things that popped up. So you can go and
Oh.
search that, follow that, support the language community. So, but yeah, I'm going to end the stream. Thanks everybody for the open chat. It's always a pleasure. It's a super fun time, and yeah, like I said, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. All right, everybody, thank you, and I will actually, anybody watching, I will see you guys at 11 a.m. in the morning because I have another one of these. So, heck yeah.